On August 20th, 2008, what started as a routine flight out of Madrid quickly became one of Spain's worst air disasters in recent history. Just moments after takeoff, Spanair Flight 5022 crashed, claiming the lives of 154 passengers and crew. The cause? It seemed deceptively simple at first, but as investigators dug deeper, a chilling series of events came to light, each one bringing this flight closer to tragedy. This isn't a story about engine failure or poor visibility. It's about missed signals, mechanical faults, and fatal coincidences. This is the story of Spanair Flight 5022. On that sunny afternoon, 166 passengers and 6 crew members boarded the McDonnell Douglas MD-82 jet at Madrid's Barajas airport. Their destination, Gran Canaria, a 3-hour flight away. Among the passengers were families, tourists, and holidaymakers, all eager for a break from Madrid's sweltering summer heat. The cockpit crew included Captain Antonio Garcia Luna, 39 years old and highly experienced, with over 8,000 flying hours. A former Air Force flight instructor, Garcia was known for his precision and commitment to safety procedures. Alongside him sat First Officer Francisco Javier Muley, who had recently joined Spanair, bringing enthusiasm and dedication to the cockpit. As the plane prepared for the takeoff, the pilots noticed something unusual. The RAM air temperature, or RAT, probe showed a high reading, a probe crucial for measuring outside temperature. Concerned about potential safety risks, they decided to halt the takeoff and report back to the gate, an act that may have seemed overly cautious, but one rooted in the crew's commitment to safety. In consultation with maintenance, they attempted to troubleshoot, suspecting the RAT probe was receiving unexpected electrical current. But resetting the circuit breaker had no effect, so the pilots returned to the gate for further inspection. With the aircraft back at the gate, maintenance crews worked on various solutions, even considering dry ice to cool the overheated sensor. Meanwhile, temperatures inside the plane climbed, and passengers grew restless. The pressure to get back in the air was palpable, adding a sense of urgency. After an hour of troubleshooting, maintenance advised disconnecting the RAT heater entirely by pulling the circuit breaker. The captain agreed, and the plane was prepared for another attempt. But unbeknownst to the crew, they were now racing against time and tension, a dangerous combination. The cockpit became a whirlwind of activity. In their rush, the captain and first officer skipped some critical checklist items. During the before-start checklist, the captain even anticipated items, answering before the first officer could read them out loud. At this point, the structured flow that usually guides cockpit procedures started to unravel. The captain, now managing tasks typically assigned to the first officer, missed essential steps that would later prove fatal. As they taxied toward the runway, the crew moved through their final checks, but a warning sign went unnoticed. The light indicating the automatic reserve thrust system was off, a signal that additional thrust would not be available in case of an emergency. But in the hurried atmosphere, this critical warning was missed. Even in the final takeoff imminent checklist, the first officer incorrectly called out flaps 11, believing the flaps were set when, in reality, they were at 0. A phenomenon known as expectation bias was likely at play, leading him to see only what he expected. With checklists rushed and critical items overlooked, Spanair Flight 5022 lined up for takeoff. The plane accelerated down the runway, but the takeoff warning system, TAWS, the last line of defense against configuration errors, remained silent. The flaps had not been set, but the system didn't warn them. The aircraft reached 157 knots, and the first officer lifted off. Almost instantly, the stall warning blared, and the plane banked sharply to the right. Just 10 seconds after lifting off, the plane lost lift, crashing tail first and bursting into flames. In the aftermath, the crash site was a scene of devastation. Out of 172 people on board, only 18 survived. This accident marked Spain's deadliest air disaster in 25 years. For investigators, the questions loomed. How did this happen? Why didn't the warning system engage? And what could have prevented this? Spain's Aviation Authority launched a thorough investigation. The failure to set the flaps was quickly identified as the immediate cause, but as they probed deeper, more complex factors emerged. Ironically, the RAT probe malfunction had been recorded on previous flights with no issues. The very caution that led them back to the gate had inadvertently set in motion a chain of rushed decisions. Adding to the mystery, investigators discovered that the TAWS and RAT probe shared a common relay, suggesting that a single failure may have disabled both. Yet, after extensive testing, they couldn't confirm if this was indeed the cause. Almost a year after the Spanair tragedy, another MD-87 aircraft in Palma de Mallorca experienced the same high rat temperature reading. The crew, aware of the previous year's crash, tested the TOWs and found it unresponsive. They chose to fly only after confirming the plane was correctly configured, logging the fault for maintenance. The final report included critical recommendations. Pilots were advised to test the TOWs on MD-80 series aircraft before every flight. To prevent similar tragedies, new regulations required multiple backups for warning systems and stressed the importance of sterile cockpit protocols during high-stakes procedures. Additional crew resource management training was recommended to reinforce the need for calm, structured communication, even under pressure. This tragic event underscored the fine line between vigilance and disaster. The story of Spanair Flight 5022 remains a haunting reminder that even the smallest oversight can lead to catastrophe. In aviation, every check, every procedure, and every moment counts. This disaster highlights the vital role of teamwork, focus, and resilience in ensuring that every flight remains safe.